Your four favorites are Macross, Do You Remember Love, Make Way for Tomorrow, This Is Not a Burial, It's a Resurrection, and Drive My Car. Limelight involves music like Macross, except one of the main characters is a dancer, not a singer. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it's about aging and connections between people from different generations. Like This Is Not a Burial, it's about mortality, where the aging protagonist tries to help others. And like Drive My Car, it follows an aging artist at a later stage in their career and involves theater, regret, and grief. Millennium Actress is an anime film that has to do with memory like Macross. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it reflects on the passage of time in a way that's deeply moving. Like This Is Not a Burial, it captures how one person can make an impact on a whole community. And like Drive My Car, the characters are actors and directors. Tokyo Story was inspired by Make Way for Tomorrow and similarly involves aging parents and their relationship with their adult children. Like Macross, it's about human connection. Like This Is Not a Burial, there's a sort of clash between tradition and modernity. And like Drive My Car, it's about grief and connection among people from different generations. Like Macross, music plays a big role in the movie Departures. And this movie is about family and mortality, like Make Way for Tomorrow. Like This Is Not a Burial, it involves funeral rituals. And like Drive My Car, it's about life and loss. Uncle Boonmi, who can recall his past lives, has this sort of mythic quality to it, like Macross. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it's about family and mortality. Like This Is Not a Burial, it treats land as something spiritual and sacred that's connected to their ancestors and loved ones who passed away. And like Drive My Car, it's about grief. Like Macross, music is an important part of the taste of tea. And this one isn't animated like Macross, but one of the characters is working on an animated film. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it's about family bonds across generations. Like This Is Not a Burial, it feels like there's a spiritual and cultural connection to the place where the story's set. And like Drive My Car, it feels meditative, observational, and emotionally understated. Ikiru, like Make Way for Tomorrow, is about aging and mortality. Like This Is Not a Burial, it's about legacy. Like Macross, it shows how one person is able to inspire others. And like Drive My Car, it's about life after loss. The Blue Trail, like Macross, is a sci-fi dystopian film. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it involves elderly people being displaced or separated from their homes or way of life. Like This Is Not a Burial, it's about an older woman engaging in some form of resistance. And like Drive My Car, it involves both a physical and emotional journey. Spring, summer, fall, winter, and spring also has this spiritual connection to nature and the cycles of life and death, like This Is Not a Burial. Like Macross, it explores how culture and tradition are what allows humanity to endure over time. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it's about aging and the passage of time. And like Drive My Car, it has a meditative tone. A ghost story like Macross is about love, memory, music, and human connection. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it's about mortality. Like This Is Not a Burial, it's about a specific place and the spirits tied to it. And like Drive My Car, it's about grief. All About Lily Shushu, like Macross, captures how music connects people. Like Make Way for Tomorrow, it involves loneliness. Like This Is Not a Burial, there's this feeling of isolation, but also a feeling of community. And like Drive My Car, it's about characters who express their emotional pain through art, whether it's music or a performance. The Straight Story is a road movie about healing like Drive My Car. It's about reconciliation like Macross and aging like Make Way for Tomorrow. And like This Is Not a Burial, it involves an aging protagonist, mortality, and it feels like the landscape is part of the story. A lot of what I just said also applies to Paris, Texas, although this one is less about aging and mortality and more about love, fractured family, and regret. Speaking of movies starring Harry Dean Stanton, I also want to recommend Lucky, since aging and mortality are common themes in your favorites. Since Macross Do You Remember Love is an anime space opera, I was surprised you didn't have Cowboy Bebop marked as watched. I know it's technically a TV show, but Macross was also originally a series, so I think it makes sense to recommend it. And another anime space opera I think you might enjoy is Interstellar 4-5. Since there are giant humanoid mecha robots in Macross, I also want to recommend Pacific Rim. I know I already recommended one Akira Kurosawa movie, but I also want to throw in One Wonderful Sunday, because like Macross, it shows how love and human connection can endure even in the aftermath of war. And like Make Way for Tomorrow, it's about a couple who are dealing with financial hardships and trying to stay together and maintain their dignity. Since you like Make Way for Tomorrow, I think you might enjoy Umberto D, which also involves an elderly protagonist with financial troubles who's separated from his home, and it's also about companionship. And since This Is Not a Burial and Macross both involve one person making a difference, the little girl who sold the sun also came to mind. And like Make Way for Tomorrow, it depicts how society often fails vulnerable people. And like Drive My Car, it feels observational with a focus on the little things and daily routines.